Hello, thank you for joining me on this video. I wanted to go ahead and do a video about what my process is regarding how I edit majority of my videos. I'm using my previous video that I uploaded as an example. What I did was I screen recorded or screen captured the editing process of my previous video. I recorded nearly 2 hours of edits during this time frame. And even though I recorded nearly 2 hours of me editing, I do want to go ahead and say that I sped up a lot of the footage here to cut it down to, right now it's at 25 minutes. I may shorten it down a little bit more just to save time so that way you're not sitting here watching me edit during an entire 25 minutes over a 2 hour footage time frame. I will say that, and I'm also going to go ahead and give out my experience here during the editing. The footage that I did record and edit was in 4K, and I wanted to kind of give my experience regarding that during, being that I used a 2015 MacBook Pro here. I will go ahead and say that with my experience, doing the editing in 4K by itself alone is fine, especially if I'm only using 1 or 2 streams. I've noticed that generally I have to wait until everything renders first before I can start editing and to have a smooth experience with it. I did also notice that as I was editing this particular video, while I was screen recording and editing at the same time, there was a lot of slowdown. I can't necessarily screen record and edit at the same time on this particular computer given the specs that it has. You know, with the quad-core Intel chip, 16 gigabytes of memory, and it just being an older generation model. With that being said, also I didn't record my physical body editing here, just because I didn't have, at the time, a setup to be able to record myself doing the edits, so I felt it would be better just to show you how I edit via screen capture here, and just kind of do a voiceover as well. You know, and generally when I'm doing my edits, what I typically like to do is, you know, I'll open up Final Cut Pro, because I do use Final Cut Pro as my main source of editing. So I'll open that up, import everything that I believe I'll need. Sometimes I'll end up importing things that I'll need later on in the cycle. But I'll go ahead and import the footage, let it render if it needs to render, create the... Actually, let me backtrack. I'll generate the library, title the events, create the project and title that, and then import the media, let the media render if it needs to kind of match whatever I set the project up to be. Most times I want to set it up to have the project export in 1080p. There's going to be a few times, like with this video and the previous video, where I have it export into 4K, just to kind of test things out. But generally it'll be 1080p, and then I'll let the videos render to match the resolution and speed that I set up for the project. Like with this project, it's at 4K, 60 frames per second. And when I do the screen recording records at the resolution that the screen is set at. So what I'm showing you right now is actually being upscaled to 4K. With that being said, additionally, when I first started the screen recording, being that I was running into issues with latency and whatnot, additionally, I am having issues with my battery. I did get a replacement battery for this computer. The replacement battery is no good, to say the least. When I try to work off the battery itself with Final Cut Pro, the battery ends up shutting the computer down when everything is rendering and the chips are getting hot, I'm assuming. So it shuts down anytime I try to use Final Cut Pro. So I have to go and use the power adapter. Whether I'm at home or I'm at work, everything works perfectly when it's connected to power. So I do have to try to find another replacement battery to use for this computer. So when I first attempted to screen record this editing process for the last video, I will say that during the middle of I believe my second screen recording, it did shut down after about 2 minutes. Right now I can hear the fans going. I do have it connected to the battery. Excuse me, I do have it connected to my power adapter. If it was on battery, within the next 30 seconds, I'm sure this computer would shut down. However, with all that being said, I did want to do just like a quick video showing you my editing process. What I typically do is I'll go ahead and add my main footage on the main timeline here, let it render, and then I'll add, if I want to do a title, I'll usually add the title after it's finished rendering. I have my typical YouTube end screen for subscribing at the end that I'll throw in there as well. And that's about 10 seconds long. And then after that, I'll make whatever adjustments that I need to make. For instance, I'll go ahead and cut down any dead spaces or long pauses, or whenever I do ums or ahs or whatever, I'll go ahead and cut those out. As you can see with this footage, as I'm going through and editing out some of the things that aren't needed, you'll see that I'll run into issues with dropped frames, which is typically common if I'm working with 4K footage at 60 frames per second. So that's why mostly on this computer I'll work with normally either 30 frames per second or just standard 1080p footage, because I don't typically run into the drop frames using those types of footage. But I do run into that a lot with 4K. And then after I'm done editing down everything, that's when I'll put in titles if I need titles, generators, or anything extra of that, or if I want to do some B-roll or add just photos overlaying what I'm talking about, just to kind of show you guys images of what I am talking about in a particular moment or a particular scene. I'll go ahead and add those in as well. Those don't take too long. The biggest part of those is getting them rendered, and being that they're photos, it doesn't take any more than maybe a minute, if that, to render out photos if I need to make adjustments to them and whatnot. For instance, right now the fans are going pretty hard. I can hear them when I play back my audio. I'm going back every maybe minute or so to kind of make little tweaks and adjustments to the audio. But with this last run, I did hear the fans going on in the background, so I try my best. I do have a microphone here that I'm actually going to switch to so you guys can hear the microphone that I have. It's semi-professional. Its original price is $100. However, I did buy it for $50 off of eBay, and I'm using it right now to record this portion of my voice, and my opinion is I think it sounds pretty good. So I typically use this mainly for my video streams, my video game streams that I do on my gaming channel, and anything that I record for my video game channel, I typically use it for that. I've used it for a few videos for this channel, but I typically don't use it for this channel just because it's easier for me to use the like my iPhone. I typically use the microphone on my iPhone because that sounds pretty good to me, at least. For instance, for my last 3 videos for sure, I've used the internal microphone on my iPhone. So you can, if you want, go back and watch those, the last 3 videos prior to this video. Go ahead and watch those, listen to the audio, and then come back and listen to this portion of the video with this audio. And you can give me feedback on how you think it sounds, if you think this microphone sounds better, or if my iPhone microphone sounds better. And then I'll go based off of that feedback. But right now, I'm using the microphone that I bought for... Typically, it was supposed to be for my microphone setup. It's called the Shure, SHURE MV5. I'll go ahead and post a screenshot up on it right now on the screen. But sometimes I'll use this for my videos on this channel. So a lot of the times I'll go through and when I'm making my edits, I'll just double check that everything sounds good, transitions and flows pretty well with my dialogue. Here you can see that I'm going ahead and testing out some music to add to the title screen here. before the video starts. I'm also just now getting reintroduced to GarageBand, so I'm going to start making my own music again. I was kind of doing so when I was in college, but I kind of fell off just because of time and whatnot. But that's my goal, is to start making my own music instead of having to use royalty-free music. I do have a lot to learn still with editing in Final Cut Pro and using GarageBand, so the more time I put towards using these programs, the more I can feel comfortable with getting things accomplished in editing the way I want to, and just making things look good and professional and better quality than what I've uploaded previously to the channel. As of recording this audio portion, I've received $140 in donations towards the channel and towards setting up my studio. So what I've purchased so far is a couple of studio lights. I've purchased a couple of green screens. I'll be going to Walmart today during my lunch hour to purchase a tripod for my iPhone, so that way I can have a height adjustable stand to place my camera on whenever I'm recording, so that way it looks better than normal in terms of framing and whatnot. And then the lights will be able to allow me to use the green screens properly for future projects that I have in mind, as well as being able to use them for my gaming channel as well. What I also realized that I need to get in terms of my setup is, apparently I believe I do need to get like one of those audio mixers or soundboards. If you notice during my screen recording with this editing process, there's no audio being fed through, it's just video. And apparently I need a soundboard or something to be able to feed the audio through to get it to record. I'm not 100% sure about that. I can't get the audio to record during screen capture on my computer, whether I'm using QuickTime or OBS or whatever the case may be. So if anyone has any suggestions on what I can do or what soundboard I can buy to accomplish that goal of capturing the computer audio when I'm recording and capturing the desktop, that'll be great. And then I'll be able to get that set up once I get my official desk set up as well. Alright, from here there's about 12 minutes left on the video in terms of my sped up footage here from what I was editing when I screen recorded. Here you can see that I was rendering what I edited here. I didn't quite time it, but it took around 45 minutes for the render to complete. From here I don't have much to say, but I want to go ahead and let the rest of the video play through with some background music going. So enjoy, and I'll see you towards the end of the video. approaching the end of the video now. I'm going to go ahead and leave you here. If you feel like if you're up to donating, feel free to donate. I left the donation links in the description below. Thank you for joining me on this video. I do have some more in the pipeline. Thank you for catching me on this, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.